So as expected, the Big Ten has announced that it is canceling fall football, and it is followed closely by the Pac-12, which announced that it is also canceling fall football. We got to talk about it after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You got to help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today, it's not going to be so much fun, right? It sucks. And I talked about this at length, and I understand what Ohio State fans, Michigan State fans, Purdue fans, Minnesota fans, Iowa fans, Nebraska fans, Penn State fans, my goodness, Michigan, Rutgers even. It's just a suck, right? It's the absolute suck. Wisconsin, it's awful. Everybody wanted college football. Everybody wanted to see college football played. That includes me. If you cannot play it safely, that's the reason not to play it. Now, before we get to the headline of this, I wanted to express, again, my extreme sadness over this decision. And the one thing that I did want to see that the Big Ten didn't actually give us was the medical evidence that they had used to base this decision on. Now, medical experts are saying that you're going to follow what they say. Cool. One of the things that I've seen is a bunch of guys popping up out of nowhere to say, I'm a doctor and I say that it's safe to play. All right, fine, whatever. Show us the evidence and then share that evidence with everybody. Like share that with the student athletes, share that with the coaches, share that with rival conferences. Everybody should know, because if the Big Ten can't play football, then there's a lot of other lesser institutions that can't play, like say high school football, among other things, right? So it joins a list of conferences that has grown from 13 to 15 of the 23 conferences across the FBS and FCS to decide that they are not playing football this fall. Now, Nebraska and Ohio State have both said that they're going to try their hardest to play, and I'm gutted for these players because I did the math. 85 scholarships across 14 teams. That is 1,190 scholarship players, and this is going to decimate Ohio State because none of their guys are going to play in the spring. It makes no sense, and Ohio State folks will be the first to tell you that. There are 10 draft-eligible players on that team, and guys like Jonathan Cooper, Sean Wade came back expressly so they could play this last year and put a chapter together to remember. However, there's still hope if you are in the college football should play camp. I've litigated about whether or not we think should play. I'm going to put that aside. There are 3 conferences among the Power 5 that are still expecting to play college football. They are SEC, they are the ACC, and they are the Big 12. The Big 12 seems to be the linchpin in all of this, as the SEC is basically looking at Bob Bowlesby going, don't you flinch, don't you dare flinch. And the ACC also is doing the same thing because the ACC would get to be able to follow suit of SEC and the Big 12. And they're actually in a much worse place because they have schools in Syracuse and Boston, among other places, where they expect to play football, right? And they just got Notre Dame in the conference, and Notre Dame is going to throw in some of that NBC money to make this thing work. Meanwhile, the Big 12 might be looking at as a delicious place for Nebraska and Ohio State to land, and that would make the Big 12 a 12-team conference once again. And like, message board me loves this. Message board me is like, give me Ohio State and Nebraska in the Big 12 North, move, a couple of teams to the Big 12 South, and let's get it on and popping, right? Let's do 6-6. Let's have a conference championship. Let's see if we can't do the SEC thing of getting 2 teams into the college football playoff. Could have Oklahoma and Ohio State into the Big 12 championship game. Could have Nebraska and Texas. Could have Oklahoma and Nebraska. Could have Ohio State and Texas. It could be a lot of fun, right? That's what this is. That's where the fun part of this is. That's where the conference realignment part of this is. But there's also underscores for me a couple of things. Kevin Warren has only been in this job for a year, and he is the first black commissioner in the history of the Big Ten Conference. And this is a really difficult decision to make. I also understand how nobody wanted to be first in making this decision. So the Pac-12 got to look at Kevin Warren and then make their announcement a couple of minutes later. Then nobody's going to want to be last, right? So if the Big 12 were to fold or the ACC were to fold, that might be all she wrote for the SEC because the SEC does not want to be the only conference playing football. It's just bad optics. It's bad politics. That said, they do want to play football, and I don't know that they have enough backbone to be the only conference playing football. And I've said this from the jump. Until the SEC makes a move, college football will be played. And I don't see the SEC flinching, right? Especially if they know that they got the ACC and the Big 12 in there. Now, the joke to make is the Big 12 goes to the SEC, says, you guys going to stop talking bad about our defense? And the SEC going, does that mean we get, college football in the fall? And the Big 12 says, yes. To which the SEC says, Maybe, because everybody wants to dunk on Oklahoma's defense, and the defense played in the Big 12 at large. But this is also like the Harry Stamper portion of the conversation, for which I need to say, when Billy Bob Thornton and Harry Stamper met, and Billy Bob Thornton was like, you got to help us try to figure out what's going on with the rotors. He's like, you guys got to drill a hole in a substance that is the strongest that man has ever encountered as it's hurtling toward the earth at quite literally a speed heretofore unforeseen, and you got to do it and then drop a nuke in the middle of it. That seems a little far-fetched. That seems like maybe knowing that's our primary plan, we should have a contingency plan, to which Stamper says, what's your contingency plan? And Billy Bob Thornton says, contingency plan? Yes, your contingency plan. We don't have a contingency plan. What do you mean you don't have a contingency plan? Everybody's got a contingency plan. You're NASA. You're you trying to tell me the government, the U.S. government, does not have a contingency plan? I mean, I feel like you should have a contingency plan. I bet it's NASA because, you got guys thinking stuff up and you got guys just backing them up because that's what NASA, you try to tell me the government does not have a backup plan? We don't have a backup plan. Oh, goodness. And that's where the Big Ten is, because they don't even know how they're going to play spring football. They don't even know what that schedule looks like. They don't even know how they would do this. Like, that's the egregious part about me, right? Make the decision. Now tell us what happens next. That's why I'm getting upset, right? That is the item that on this list of really damning items, the one item that you don't have on the list is what a spring football season looks like. That makes no sense. But more than that, Ohio State, Nebraska, Iowa have all said we want to play football, and Nebraska, like here Scott Frost talk was going, we'll find a way to play. We won't play in the Big Ten, but we'll find somewhere else to play, we assure you. And the last team in the Big Ten to go rogue was Iowa in 1930. Because Iowa had a slush fund for paying players that got caught, and they had to get rid of the staff, and nobody would schedule them. And they actually didn't get to play in the Big Ten until Purdue said, cool, we'll play Iowa. And then looking back at a letter Newt Rockne sent to Amos Stagg of all people, talking about the 1918 flu pandemic, we got a doctor who's a dumbass who canceled practice for no good reason. It's the Spanish flu. Like, the more things change, the more they stay the same. I've said this from jump. If you have a history of playing football through a pandemic, like, say, Notre Dame, Arkansas, Ohio State, Nebraska, you're going to play. If you believe that you face certain death of your football program, you're going to play. If you feel like football is something that you can get rid of, you're not going to play. But I have said there's a way to do this safely, and it is to bubble the players. And if you can bubble the players, great. But if you bubble the players, you also have to do that thing where you recognize that they're not student athletes anymore. They're actually labor that you need to take care of because they generate revenue for you. And that's going to blow up the NCAA's argument. But at this point, it's what you're going to have to do if you're going to play football in the fall. And I think that we are faced with the Big Ten Conference saying we'd rather cancel fall football than share with these players and give up the con of them being student athletes and amateurs, because they are not. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.